Now, on December 29th, 2016, a few days ago, the DHS and the FBI released a joint report alleging Russian hacking in the presidential election. All right, before I get to whether or not I believe this allegation is true, I just want to say that this is a propaganda technique that's being employed by the Obama administration. That's just a fact. So, what do you think of when you hear that Russia hacked the election? Well, I would presume you would think it means that they hacked the voting booths, to try to influence the election in favor of a certain candidate. Read between the lines. The real allegation that's being made is that Russian hackers hacked into the DNC emails and to the emails of John Podesta and Hillary Clinton and released the information to Wikileaks, which then published the emails. Why would the Obama administration, the government, continue this, quote, Russia hacked the election narrative and not explicitly state what the actual allegation is, unless if they wanted to mislead people? What they're trying to do is delegitimize Trump's election by linking it to an illegal breach of our elections. Now, do I believe that these allegations are true? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were. DHS, Treasury Department, FBI, CIA, the White House, all of them have alleged Russian hacking in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Contrary to the Russian hacking narrative, people who are rightly skeptical are saying, well, why should we believe the government? If the government actually had information to prove that Russia hacked the election, why wouldn't they release it? And the argument against that, which was made by journalists in the NBC back in September, is that this is the argument made by the government too, is that they don't want to release details proving their allegation because they don't want to tip off their sources and investigative methods to Russian hackers and to the Russian government. So while it is in their interests to accuse Russia, I wouldn't be surprised if the Russian hackers actually did hack the DNC emails. One, because if it is true, it would be against the government's interests to release the details. And two, because the Russian government hates the current administration and is trying to undermine the current administration's goals in Syria, among other goals, especially in Eastern Europe. So why wouldn't they try to undermine the election to elect Donald Trump, who has come out in favor of Putin and his style of leadership and against intervention in Syria? WikiLeaks, with these emails, definitely have proven that the political system, specifically the Democratic Party, are corrupt. And the political establishment, they hate Russia and they hate Donald Trump. So obviously delegitimizing Trump by blaming Russia is in their interests. But that doesn't mean that Russia didn't hack the election. Something could be in their interests. It could still be in their interests to accuse to accuse Russia while it still could have happened. So why should you buy it? Well, I don't believe that you should buy it just yet, but I don't believe we should be overly cynical of the government, because it would make sense that the Russians hacked emails to help Trump. And if so, it would make sense that the government wouldn't want to release the details. Now, 2 days ago, Assange did an interview with Sean Hannity. I love how all these Republicans, by the way, are lining up with Assange now that he's on their side. But 10 years ago, Jesus, these people wanted him arrested, killed. It's quite ridiculous how people just lose their principles immediately when something comes to help them. So Assange did an interview with Sean Hannity on Fox 2 days ago, where Assange basically stated that none of WikiLeaks' sources came from Russian hackers and that the administration is lying to delegitimize Trump. In the interview, Assange said that his sources didn't come from Russian hackers, And WikiLeaks also doesn't disclose their sources. So understandably, Assange didn't want to name who his alleged sources were. We should be skeptical of the government, but we should also be skeptical of WikiLeaks and Assange's claims. To Assange's credit, regarding the evidence that the Russians gave this information to WikiLeaks, the FBI and DHS report has a disclaimer saying it's not necessarily accurate. So, we're going to have to keep up to date with what they come out with in the near future. So, but WikiLeaks hasn't earned the best reputation in recent years. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but during the attempted coup against Erdogan, the dictator in Turkey, on July of 2016, WikiLeaks published links to, quote, 330,000 Erdogan emails, which doxed millions of people. If you don't know what doxing is, it's releasing their personal information. None of the, quote, Erdogan emails turned out to be from Erdogan or even his inner circle. Mostly their correspondence and personal information from everyday Turkish citizens, which included the home addresses, phone numbers, party affiliations, and political activity levels of millions of female Turkish voters. I shouldn't have to explain why that's bad to you. According to the Associated Press, in Saudi Arabia, WikiLeaks released 124 medical files. Medical records are everywhere considered a person's most private information. A partial scan done by the Associated Press of the leak turned up more than 500 passport, identity, academic, or employment files. Many of these people who were released in the WikiLeaks were outed as gay, rape victims, and people with HIV, alleges the Associated Press. I don't know if you know anything about Saudi Arabia, but to be gay, a rape victim, or a person with HIV is not a good thing. They actually have a law against homosexuality, which can be punished by execution. They kill the gay out of you by literally killing you. So for WikiLeaks to out people as gay in that country is extremely detrimental to people's safety. Finally, WikiLeaks alleged that the 2016 DNC was using a white noise machine against the disruptive Sanders delegates. Said machines turned out to be an arena Wi-Fi hotspot installed the year before. WikiLeaks definitely has something specifically against Hillary Clinton and the neoliberal establishment. It's definitely not the best transparency group. They've done some horrible things. They've been criticized by respectable transparency advocates like Glenn Greenwald. WikiLeaks was absolutely trying to undermine the election against Clinton, I believe. Why were none of the RNC emails leaked? Why no emails from the Trump campaign? If it was truly about transparency and there wasn't a political motive, why no Republican emails? You really think the RNC is completely devoid of corruption? Okay. In conclusion, the, quote, Russian hacking narrative is absolutely a propaganda technique employed by Obama to conflate Russia literally hacking voting booths with Russian hackers that may or may not be affiliated with the government hacking DNC emails. Due to our sour relations with Russia, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Russian hackers who hacked the election. It would make sense that the government wouldn't want to release details which may be sensitive. I'm definitely an advocate of transparency. I'm very much into the populist rhetoric right now. I believe what WikiLeaks revealed is shocking, and they did the job that journalists should do, and they aren't doing. But so I don't believe we should blindly trust the government. We also shouldn't be blindly. We also shouldn't blindly trust WikiLeaks. Populist politics are attractive right now. People are understandably irritated at the corrupt neoliberal establishment that's been in place really for the last 20, 30 years. But we can't lose reason to our hatred of what's going on. We can't lose sight of our reason. Finally, I think I will do another show about why Obama's handling of this situation was not the best. I think the current Democratic establishment has a very Russophobic type of politics that could be dangerous. It's one thing that could improve with the Trump presidency, but we haven't seen Trump's presidency yet. I don't expect many things to get better at all. But there's a progressive thinker here. Keep tuning into the show. This is the first episode of the APT show. Thanks for watching, guys.